Okay, so D23 just happened and we've got a bunch of new info on Spider-Man freshman year, aka your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Without further ado, let's just get straight into breaking it down. First of all, we got a brand new banner breaking down all of the characters that are going to be appearing in the show, some that we've seen before and some that we haven't. For all of the characters that have already been revealed to be in the show, I've made many videos breaking down who those characters are and possibly what relationships they could have to Peter, so once you're done watching this video, make sure you go and watch those videos as well. I'll leave links to them on the screen or in the video description or something along those lines. But either way, we got some really interesting insights into some characters that we had no idea that were going to be in this show, including Tony Stark, aka Iron Man, which is really cool. He also looks like he has more of that really original Silver Age comic book look to him as well, which is really cool, stepping away from the original MCU Tony Stark design. Speaking of the animation and the art style, it was confirmed that the whole show will be a 60s inspired comic book style look, which I think we all already knew, but just in case anyone was confused, yes, the whole show will look like this. Some other notable characters that we got on this banner were also a symbiote of some variety, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and also this interesting character that looks like it could maybe be Captain George Stacy or maybe even J. Jonah Jameson. Some of the other characters were a little bit random and didn't really have that many distinctive features to really make out who they potentially could be, and like I mentioned, the rest of the characters we've already seen and we already know who they are. Now let's move on to some of the casting. It was confirmed that Coleman Domingo will be voicing Norman Osborn. Some of you may recognize his face from shows like Euphoria. He's a really good actor and I cannot wait to see what he does in this role. Domingo even went on to say that Norman Osborn is the ultimate supervillain, which is really nice to hear. It seems that Norman is going to be this maniacal supervillain that we all know and love from the comics. It was also confirmed that Hudson Thames will be voicing Peter Parker. We know Hudson Thames voiced the character in What If, and he will be reprising his role. Now let's move on to the most exciting thing, which is of course narrative threads, the plot, the story. What do we know from D23? So the first thing that I thought was interesting that got revealed was that this show is actually going to be officially a what if scenario of Peter's introduction scene in Captain America Civil War, where it is Norman Osborn who approaches Peter instead of Tony Stark. We all kind of assumed this would be the case. However, with all of the news coming out a few years ago that this was going to be taking place inside of the MCU, we were all a little confused. But now it has been officially confirmed that this show will be a what-if scenario of that one scene in Civil War. So basically, it's just a glorified what-if episode stretched into an entire season. Speaking of Peter Parker and Norman Osborn, a little bit was given into what their relationship would be like in this show as well. Apparently, it will be similar to the way Peter and Tony's relationship played out in the actual Marvel Cinematic Universe, except there is one twist. Norman Osborn uses more questionable methods than Tony Stark. This probably means Norman is just going to be the Norman we all know and love from the comics and various adaptations across the years, and Peter is probably going to slowly start to figure this out throughout the show, and that's how they're essentially going to end up coming to blows, or at least that's what I imagine is going to happen. However, you're all going to be asking, did we find out anything about Peter's story in this reveal? In fact, we did. There was one clip that was actually shown at the showcase which revealed how Peter got bit by the spider. Now hold on tight because this is going to get a little bit crazy and it is kind of confusing. But before we do get into that, I also want to focus in on something that Jeff Trammell said about the show as well in relation to Peter's character arc. He said, and I quote, "We get the opportunity to really dig into who Peter is and how that affects who Spider-Man becomes." I think this is really cool and I think it shows that the creators know what they're doing. Everything that they've said in relation to who Peter is and how that affects him being Spider-Man just sounds like they understand the character, and that is really cool to see. However, some people won't like this next bit, which is how Peter gets bit by the spider. One thing that they also wanted to reaffirm is that Doctor Strange is also going to be showing up in this series, and he will in fact be fighting the symbiote as well that we saw at the beginning of the showcase on that panel with all of the characters. And if you guys remember a couple of years back at Comic-Con, this screenshot was actually captured from the event, which showed Doctor Strange fighting a mysterious creature, which also featured Nico Minoru as well. However, this fight, in fact, is the reason as to how Peter gets bit by the spider in this series. Now you're probably thinking, Lewis, how the hell is that possible? Well, essentially what happens is Doctor Strange is fighting this symbiote-like creature across dimensions, and when they are jumping through portals, essentially a spider falls through the portal with them. This spider then ends up going on to bite Peter Parker while Doctor Strange deals with the symbiote. Now that sounds absolutely mental, and some people definitely will not like this, but I'm sure it'll have a big part to play in what the series will be about. So I think we should just hold our horses and see what comes of this. It was also confirmed that Peter wouldn't actually know who Doctor Strange was in this universe either, which actually does line up with the MCU timeline, as if this does take place at the same time as Captain America Civil War, MCU Doctor Strange wouldn't even exist, so that does line up there. One last thing that was revealed is that the future Foundation suit will also appear in the show. Now we already kind of knew this because a bunch of suits that Peter would be wearing in the show were revealed a few years back. However, they were all suits adapted from the Identity Crisis Spider-Man storyline from the comics, and it wasn't known if this suit on the end actually was the Future Foundation suit or just an original take on the actual suit from the Identity Crisis storyline. However, it has now been officially confirmed that this is the Future Foundation suit, so whether they are going through the Identity Crisis storyline and it so happens that maybe the Fantastic Four happened to give him a suit or something along those lines, we're not so sure. But it's really cool that the Future Foundation suit is actually confirmed to be appearing in the show, and that is what that suit is going to be. But either way, apart from that, that is everything we know about your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man from the D23 showcase. If you want to stay updated with everything Spider-Man, make sure to click that subscribe button down below, make sure to like the video, and tell me in the comment section down below if you are excited. Here you can watch my video on Spider-Man freshman year and all the characters that we know about and all of their backstories and everything about them revealed and how they are probably going to fit into the show. Thank you very much for the members for supporting the channel. You guys are absolutely awesome. If you do want to support the channel and you enjoy my content, make sure to click the join button down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care and peace.